My name is Claire Reynolds. I remember the night like a photograph left in sunlight, washed out at the edges, but the center still sharp. David and I had been married 7 years. We met in college, fell into a rhythm that felt like home. Saturday coffee runs, the same holiday traditions, a dog named Baxter who slept between us on Sundays. People told us we were the couple that made commitment look easy. We told ourselves the same thing until small fissures began to show. It started with things that seemed harmless. David working late more often, taking business trips with vague explanations, liking photos on social media that he used to scroll past. I told myself I was being paranoid. I knew the shape of his hand on mine, the timbre of his laugh, but intimacy isn't just physical. It's the quiet sharing of unsaid things. Little silences crept in where conversation used to live. I tried to bridge them with jokes, with planning a weekend away, with asking him about his day. He would smile and answer in generalities, like a radio playing in another room. The night I found the message, Baxter had curled up at our feet, and the kitchen light was still on. David had gone to the office earlier that evening, saying he needed to finish a proposal. I was scrolling through my phone when a familiar notification preview popped up, David's name. The preview showed a string of words from a number I didn't recognize. My heart didn't leap so much as stop. I shouldn't have opened it, but I did. Can't wait to see you, it read, followed by a time and a wink. I felt ridiculous and then furious and then empty, moving through emotions like rooms in a house I didn't recognize. I confronted him the moment he walked in. We stood in the doorway. The dog looked at both of us, tail thumping and wholly oblivious. David looked like a man caught between relief and resignation. He didn't deny it. He told me her name was Rachel, that she worked at a startup downtown, that it started as lunches and became something else. His voice was calm in a way that made my knees unsteady. People say infidelity happens in a second and in accumulation. For us, both were true. It was a choice David made many times, small decisions to withhold, to meet, to continue, that added up into a rupture. But there was also the instant when he decided to send that text. That's the moment the title of this video comes from, The Choice That Ruined Us. Our first weeks after the discovery were a bizarre truce. We pretended to keep things normal, morning routines, shared groceries, Baxter's walks. We sat across from each other at the kitchen table and rehearsed civility. But in the quiet, the romantic tension between us twisted. It was no longer the worn pull of affection, but the sharp ache of two people holding on to different versions of an intimacy that couldn't be repaired with apologies alone. There were nights when he reached for me and my body remembered how to respond, but my heart recoiled. Physical closeness without truth felt dangerous and dishonest. I went to friends for advice. Sarah, my oldest friend, listened without judgment and told me I deserved honesty and safety. Mark, who'd been through a divorce, warned me about decisions made from anger. My parents, older and pragmatic, asked whether we were willing to do the hard work of rebuilding. Each voice nudged me toward choices I wasn't sure I could make. The romantic tension between the life I loved and the new, raw reality of betrayal became a third presence in the room, like an uninvited guest watching us decide. David wanted counseling. He wanted us to try. Rachel reached out once in that early chaos, through a message that was part apology and part explanation. She had feelings, she had been lonely, she was sorry. She didn't try to justify what she did. Her honesty, plain and oddly human, complicated the picture. She was younger, earnest, and she believed in second chances the way some people believe in astrology. She wanted closure. I wanted answers. Neither of us created a map for how to move forward. We tried couples therapy. The first sessions were brutal and honest and useless in the ways only the beginning of healing can be. They showed us every bad habit, every unspoken resentment. David cried in front of a stranger, and somehow I felt both angered and relieved. He said he had lost himself in the midlife fog of expectation and work, that Rachel had given him attention he'd forgotten how to ask for. I listened and cataloged every excuse, wondering if explanation could ever equal absolution. There were moments of tenderness amid the wreckage. We would find ourselves laughing over some memory from the early days, the kind of laugh that meant our bones still fit together in certain ways. Those moments were intoxicating and terrifying. They kept me tethered and made the possibility of leaving harder. Romantic tension is not always about passion. Sometimes it's the ache for what was the memory of a touch that once felt like safety. I realized that what I missed wasn't just David, but the life we had built together, the small rituals that stitched us into a unit. Friends suggested ultimatums. Some advised leaving immediately, others to stay and stay vigilant. I oscillated. At night, I would lie awake, planning conversations, imagining legal steps, picturing solo apartments. By day, I made choices that surprised me. I cleaned out the closet of things I'd been saving for. Us. I bought a new journal. I started running again. Those actions were less about drama and more about reclaiming a self that felt blurred. The turning point came months later when David came home one evening and said he needed to talk. He had resigned from the company where much of the affair had unfolded. He'd cut off contact with Rachel. He had enrolled in individual therapy. The sincerity in his voice was raw. He said he understood that forgiveness is not an on-off switch and that he'd accept the consequences of his choices, including the possibility I would walk away. His willingness to be accountable shifted something in me, not into immediate forgiveness. That was not mine to give lightly, but into a willingness to try, to see whether a house with new windows could keep the same warmth. We rebuilt inch by careful inch. We set boundaries, learned new ways to communicate, and let old resentments be aired in rooms where we had rules about not shouting. We created rituals again, weekly date nights, phone-free dinners, honest check-ins about how we felt. Sometimes it felt genuine. Sometimes it felt like a performance. The romantic tension eased into something quieter, not the heady rush of new love, but a steadier, more cautious affection. There were days of progress and days when the past loomed large. Healing, I learned, is not linear. If there's a lesson in this, it's not neat or prescriptive. Infidelity is a wound shaped by need, opportunity, and choices. It is also a mirror that forces you to look at what you wanted and where you were willing to compromise. The choice that ruined us didn't have to be the only choice. It was one path. For some, that road leads to an end. For others, it becomes a difficult detour towards something rebuilt differently. This is our story, flawed, messy, human. I don't tell it to shame or to glorify, but to share the reality that even the most ordinary lives can unravel, and that decisions, small or monumental, have consequences that echo. If you're watching because you've been through something similar, know this. Your feelings are valid, your boundaries matter, and you have the right to choose what you need. For us, the choice was to try, slowly and with eyes wide open. We are not fixed, we are learning. And maybe that, in its own imperfect way, is a kind of hopeful ending.